It's the 8th of September 2004 in the suburbs of Aichi Prefecture's Toyoake city, bordering Nagoya. The two-story standalone home of the Kato family can be found in a quiet residential area. That evening, third-grade elementary school student Shogo Kato watches Japan's national soccer team play the first-round qualifier for the 2006 World Cup. Shogo's excitement is not only increasing due to Japan's eventual victory, but also due to the prospects of Shogo's 9th birthday that following day. Shogo lived together with 4 family members and their dog. His father, 45-year-old Hiroto Kato, worked at a car part manufacturing company and was still at work that evening. 38-year-old mother, Toshiyo, had met Hiroto at work and quit her job after marriage, but had worked part-time again for the past few years. Toshiyo was known to love cooking and put her children first. That evening, Toshiyo stayed home with her kids. Oldest son, 15-year-old Yuki, a third-year junior high school student known for his interest in sports, and 13-year-old daughter Rina, a first-year junior high school student who loved fashion and volleyball, were at home that evening as well. Somewhere between 8 and 9 p.m., Father Hiroto sends his wife a message saying something along the lines of, "I will be late today. Please leave the key behind. Go to bed without me." Hiroto worked in Komaki City in the north of Nagoya, about a 1-hour drive away from the Kato family's home. Around 11 p.m., Hiroto calls his wife, confirming he will be staying late due to a deadline at work he had on the 10th of September. While Hiroto's company rarely required overwork, he would frequently visit bars after his job was done. Hiroto often didn't bring his keys with him, and as he'd come home late, he would ask Toshiyo to put the spare house key in a spot near the garage. After placing the key, Toshiyo and her 3 children prepare for bed. Late that night, neighbors are woken by the sound of a woman screaming, followed by a fire that had taken the Kato's home in its grip. Neighbors called emergency services, who swiftly responded to try to control the fire. Meanwhile, Hiroto, who was still at work, was notified about the events that were transpiring. Hiroto immediately drove the 1-hour drive back home, but soon found out that the phone call he made only a few hours earlier was the last time he would hear his wife's voice ever again. After firefighters extinguished the fire in the early morning of the 9th of September, the bodies of Toshiyo, Yuki, Rina, and Shogo were discovered inside the house, after which an investigation by the Metropolitan Police Department was started to analyze what happened to the Kato family.
この事件は2004年、豊明市沓掛町の住宅で、加藤俊夫さん、長男の優樹さん、長女の里奈さん、次男の翔吾くんの家族4人が何者かに刃物で殺害され、自宅が放火されたものです。
Based on information online, a comparison of satellite images of the house, and pictures of the exterior, the following overview of the interior is constructed to show a rough estimate of what the house may have looked like. While at first glance the fire could seem accidental, autopsy results of the victims showed more than just burn wounds. Shogo's body was found in the living room on the first floor. Shogo had sustained a single hit to the head by a blunt object like a crowbar, causing a depressed fracture of his skull of several centimeters deep. He is believed to have died due to cerebral contusion and acute subarachnoid hemorrhage. Oldest son Yuki was found in his bedroom on the second floor in his futon covered by a blanket. Yuki had been hit with a blunt object once and had died from acute subarachnoid hemorrhage just like Shogo. Both Shogo and Yuki had not been stabbed, unlike their mother and sister. Daughter Rina was found in her futon, covered by a blanket as well, but had been stabbed by a 20 cm long and 3 cm wide knife. She'd been stabbed more than 10 times, mainly in her upper body, with such force that some of her ribs were broken. Rina had likely died due to blood loss and traumatic shock. Just like daughter Rina, mother Toshiyo had been attacked more substantial than the two male victims. Toshiyo was found in her futon, covered by a blanket, and had been stabbed by a similar knife more than 10 times, mainly in her face and back, reaching as deep as her lungs. Toshiyo's cause of death was believed to be blood loss and traumatic shock as well. All 4 victims showed no signs of resistance, such as defensive wounds, which makes the investigators believe the attack happened while the victims were asleep. Based on black deposits in the victims' airways, they were believed to be alive for some time after the fire had started. Shogo had the least amount of black deposits in his airways, and thus probably inhaled the least amount of smoke. Based on this observation, Shogo had probably died first. After this, Toshiyo, then Rina, and then Yuki, who inhaled the most smoke. The only survivor of the incident was Shiba Inu, Jackie, the family's guard dog. Jackie was found shivering under the family's Estima car in the garage with its collar removed. Strangely enough, while Jackie was kept as a guard dog and was known to be barking loud, neighbors hadn't heard Jackie on the night of the incident, even after neighbors had heard the female scream at 4 a.m. Oil-like kerosene was detected throughout the house, together with a kerosene-soaked newspaper, which was lit by matches. While kerosene is commonly used for heaters in Japan, it had not come from the Kato home and was likely brought in by the culprit. The blunt object and knife used to kill the victims were not found at the crime scene and were thought to be brought in by the culprit as well. The fire caused severe damage to the crime scene, which made it hard for investigators to find any proof of perpetrators. Police did a luminol analysis, which is a chemical reacting to iron in blood's hemoglobin, after which it emits a blue glow. Investigators were hoping to find traces of blood in the yard or on surrounding roads, but to their surprise, no traces were found. Investigators theorized that while the perpetrator of the knife killings must have been showered with blood, a change of clothes was brought to the crime scene and outfits worn during the killings may have been burned in the house fire. In the end, police haven't found any items, weapons, or blood which could be linked to the perpetrator. No mentions of DNA evidence have been made, possibly due to the badly burned crime scene. One of the questions investigators were asking themselves was, how did the culprit enter the house? A first theory is that the culprit entered the house through an open window or door. While the fire damage made it more difficult to investigate doors or windows, as far as police could tell, all doors and windows on the first floor were locked. While one of Yuki's bedroom windows was unlocked on the second floor, only covered by a screen, no signs of a ladder or traces of access through the window have been found. In addition, according to the black deposits found in the airways of the victims, it's most likely Shogo would have been attacked first on the first floor, making it more likely the culprit entered through one of the doors or windows on the first floor. Some have speculated that if the culprit somehow broke into one of the windows, it's most likely done at the windows of the living room. This speculation finds ground in that Jackie was not heard barking by neighbors. The culprit may have approached the house from the south side, at which Jackie's view is blocked by a small shed, as can be seen on street view images. Though in the end, police hasn't reported any traces of a break-in at these windows, and neighbors hadn't reported hearing any windows breaking. A second theory is that the culprit used the spare key that Toshiyo hid in the garage as storage for Hiroto to enter the back entrance of the house. This would also be in line with the probable order in which the family members allegedly died. Problem is, Jackie would be near the key, and if the culprit was a stranger to the Kato family, he would have barked and woken up both the victims and the neighbors. A second note is that the spare key was found seemingly untouched in the spot where Toshiyo would always hide the key, meaning the culprit would have somehow returned the key to its initial place. These arguments suggest an acquaintance or relative may have something to do with the incident, since Jackie would have been quiet if a familiar face would be seen. Investigators tried asking around for eyewitnesses, though only a few people had shared information due to the fact that the incident happened around 4 a.m. in a relatively dark and quiet residential area. Based on what little police did find, the following timeline can be constructed of the early morning of the 9th of September. 3:40 a.m. A truck driver notices a light passenger car pulling up on a prefectural road about 200 meters from the Kato home, after which the car drives 1 kilometer north and takes a left turn at an intersection. The truck driver describes a blue passenger car and remembers being surprised to see an Owari Komaki license plate this late at night, a license plate from the area at which Hiroto's company is located. 4 a.m. Neighbors heard a woman scream coming from the Kato house, though no barking of Jackie had been noticed. A few minutes later, it's believed a fire broke out at the Kato house. 4:25 a.m. A neighbor reports the fire to the local fire department. Sometime after the fire broke out, Hiroto's older brother, who lived nearby, noticed the fire as well. He decided to call his younger brother's company to warn him about the fire. At this time, Hiroto told his co-worker, "My house is on fire, so I'm going back," after which he ran off, leaving his computer on. Based on the scream heard at 4 a.m. and the call made to the fire department at 4:25 a.m., the crime is estimated to have only taken about 30 minutes. 4:40 a.m., firemen in a pump truck noticed a moss green Toyota Hi-Ace Super GL car with Owari Komaki license plates, just like the blue car seen earlier. Inside the car, firemen reported to see a man in his 30s or 40s, with no one in the passenger seat. While the pump truck was parked in a street less than 100 meters west from the Kato house, the suspicious car approached from the south side. Just before reaching the fire department truck, the car changed directions by taking a left turn heading southwest. No further information about the car is known, and no connection has been made with the blue car seen about an hour earlier. 5:30 a.m., about 1.5 hours after the fire had supposedly started, the fire was extinguished, though by this time the house had been completely burned. In the meantime, Hiroto had returned back home and reportedly cried, my child," and called out the name of his wife. Hiroto tried going back in the smoke-filled house to help his family, but was stopped by firefighters and his brother. 6:10 a.m. The bodies of the family members are discovered inside the house, and the investigation into the murder of the Kato family starts. Aside from events on the 9th of September, family and nearby residents mentioned other possible significant events. In 2001, the family's car was broken into. No information has been publicized whether or not a key to the home was stolen. According to neighbors, in late July of 2003, around 8:30 p.m., someone tried to open the front door of the house by force. While Toshiyo was out on a night patrol in the area, she received a call from Shogo, who said, "Someone is messing with the door." She told Shogo not to open the door and continued her patrol. After this incident, Toshiyo had told multiple people that she had noticed suspicious individuals spying on her home since the beginning of 2004. This made family more aware of crime prevention, which made them keep their doors locked in the months leading up to the incident. Local residents had seen suspicious people and cars around the time of the incident, though no details have been made public. With lack of significant evidence, few eyewitness accounts, and a seemingly random brutal murder-arson investigation, this case is bound to be surrounded by speculation. Let's dive into some of the theories that have been proposed to get a grasp on possible suspects and their supposed motives. Theory number 1. The first and most addressed theory to the murder-arson incident is involvement of the father. Father Hiroto Kato worked in Komaki City, north of Nagoya. While it was unusual for Hiroto to perform overwork and allegedly hadn't been scheduled to overwork that night, he let his family know through text and later by calling that he would stay at work till late due to a deadline on the 10th of September concerning a profit plan for the second half of the year. By working overtime on the 8th, Hiroto seemingly hoped he would be present for Shogo's birthday on the 9th. While Hiroto rarely stayed late for work, he would often come home late due to spending his evenings drinking and going to high-end clubs without bringing a key of his home. Whenever he stayed out late, he would often ask his wife to leave a spare key at a specific spot so he could enter the house after coming back. After the incident, Hiroto had been questioned to a great extent by police, but had a well-defined alibi of being at work, backed up by his co-worker. While on the surface, Hiroto seemed cleared as a suspect and had merely survived by pure chance of having to work on the night his family was killed, the public opinion towards him shifted only half a year later. In March of 2005, Hiroto was arrested for embezzling money from his company from August of 2001 till January of 2004, together with 64-year-old business associate Tatsuo Sakurai, whom he met through work. Hiroto would allegedly inflate the prices of products his company sold, then use the money to buy computers he would sell at pawn shops, altogether earning him around 5.2 million yen, for which he was eventually arrested. 2 months later, in May of 2005, he was re-arrested as suspect of fraudulently issuing 16 promissory notes worth 55.6 million yen. Hiroto immediately admitted his embezzlement practices and was sentenced to 3 years in prison and 4 years of probation. His arrest prompted police to interrogate him again regarding the murder case of his family, but as was decided half a year earlier, his alibi held up. At the time of his conviction at Nagoya's district court, Hiroto held a press conference admitting he committed the fraud, saying, "There's no doubt about it." Though when asked about the murder incident of his family, he replied, "I was not involved in the murder and arson at all," adding comments which criticized the police and media for their approach of the case. While police didn't find any evidence to implicate Hiroto to the murder incident, the arrest triggered media outlets to reanalyze Hiroto and try to link him to the murder-arson case of his family. Hiroto was alleged to have an annual income of over 10 million yen, more than twice the average annual salary in Japan at the time, which caused some to question where all his money was going to. It was discovered Hiroto frequented exclusive member-only nightclubs in Nagoya's Nishiki area, often being away from home, having affairs with hostesses of high-end clubs for the 4 to 5 years leading up to the incident. Over time, Hiroto had discussed divorce with his wife, who had told her sister she was worried how she would survive with 3 children if she would get divorced from her husband. Hiroto's money was believed to have gone to entertainment and extramarital affairs, one source saying Hiroto paid one of his mistresses 400,000 yen a month. Some believe Hiroto started his embezzlement practices to keep up with his lifestyle, but that he might have had trouble paying back his debt to a loan shark connected to the underworld. This might have resulted in them hiring a hitman to kill his family in order for Hiroto to pay back his debt. The preparation, efficiency, and lack of evidence at the crime scene support the theory that a professional may have been hired. In addition, the witnessed suspicious blue and green car both had Owari Komaki license plates, which is from the area of Hiroto's place of work. Another possibility is that Hiroto had killed his family members himself. Some speculate Hiroto may have wanted to live with one of his mistresses. To get more money, Hiroto could have tried to get money from his family's insurance policy. Others have noted that Hiroto had an alibi and that his commute would take an hour by car, making it impossible for him to sneak off from work to get back home. While some believe Hiroto still hasn't told investigators everything he knows, others question whether or not the strong focus of the investigators on Hiroto made it easier for the real culprit to stay under the police's radar. While Hiroto has avoided the public eye since the incident happened, journalist Takehide Mizutani wrote insights he had gained from Hiroto in a 2021 interview piece posted by Shukan Jose Prime, 17 years after the incident happened. Hiroto, who now lives near the crime scene in a house on the terrain of relatives, was approached and initially seemed reluctant to talk due to his distrust in the media, though opened up when asked about the money embezzlement case he had been convicted of. Hiroto said, "As for the computer incident, I have made amends for my sins. I inflated the numbers at work and received a kickback. And the nightlife was fun, that's all. It made me feel good. When I look back on it now, I realize how stupid I was." Also saying, "If you read an article with content like this, you would think there would be a connection to the arson-murder case, right? Therefore, there is no point in me saying anything anymore." When asked if he hoped the culprit would be caught, he nodded and replied, "I have no choice but leave it to the police. If the culprit is arrested and the situation is resolved, I don't think the past will be so important. I'm already older, so I want to live my life peacefully." Theory number 2. Theory number 2 revolves around the family getting robbed. At the time, robberies were occasionally performed by gangs, often consisting of a mix of Japanese and foreign members. Arguments for the robbery theory are the preparation of multiple items, including the knife, blunt object, kerosene, matches, and a possible change of clothes. The crimes seem to have been planned and carried out without leaving much evidence for police to go on. Also, Jackie wasn't heard barking, which might have been due to the culprit sneaking in. One theory online speculated the perpetrators had consisted of people who signed up for a yami baito, or translated, shadow part-time job, which basically recruits people for certain jobs, often turning out to be crimes. The people applying often are laborers or foreigners in need of money, creating a random group of people who are hard to trace back to the crime. Investigators did, however, find no signs the rooms had been vandalized, and no valuables had been taken from the house. Investigators had even found partially burned money at the crime scene. Only Toshiyo's wallet had been empty, though investigators were not certain whether or not the culprit took money from the wallet or if it had been empty before the crime happened. Also, if everyone in the house would be asleep, there would be no need to kill the residents and burn down the house if it was just about money. Theory number 3. If Hiroto had not been involved and no valuables had been taken from the house, the theory of a grudge against one of the other family members in which the primary motive was to kill the family is a possibility. The door rattling incident and Toshiyo's feeling of getting spied on in the months before the murders may have been done by a stalker or someone who held a grudge. While police couldn't find any other strange incidents involving the victims, the culprit could have been someone known by the family. First of all, with Shogo as the exception, all bodies were covered with a blanket, which is said to be an act of guilt, making it more likely the culprit knew the victims. In addition, Jackie's surprisingly quiet demeanor and the fact his color was off when found might mean Jackie was familiar with the culprit. Besides, police couldn't figure out how the culprit could have entered the house, seemingly without touching the spare key, as if the culprit brought another copy of the key to the house. While Hiroto's older brother lived in the area, police couldn't find any reason why he might want to kill the Kato family. Some rumors concerned the fact that the brother called Hiroto directly at his company after 4 a.m. to warn him about the fire, instead of trying to call Hiroto's private cell phone. Speculations online theorized the brother killed the Kato family and found out Hiroto was still at work, calling his company right after he set the Kato house on fire. One source also claimed the brother had called from a public cell phone instead of using a private phone. Other than these rumors, nothing has ever been linked to Hiroto's brother as far as public information goes. Another finding pointing towards the possibility of someone holding a grudge against the family is the condition of the bodies, especially the difference between the female victims who had been stabbed multiple times with brute force, seemingly with a lot of hatred, and the male victims who had been killed by a single hit of a blunt object seems noteworthy. The difference may relate to the motive of the murder and could point towards a stalker or possibly Hiroto's mistress. While police investigations are ongoing, family and friends work on the case in their own way. On Hiroto's request, the house was preserved as evidence at first, though it was eventually taken down in September of 2005 due to severe damage and series of mischief, leaving an empty plot of land at the location the house once stood on. While Hiroto had allegedly attended the funeral of his family, he hasn't shown his face in public ever since. Some speculate it shows his guilt, while others believe Hiroto is simply trying to avoid a new wave of unwanted attention. Since the murders have happened, a memorial service is held every year at the place of the crime scene.
昨日は殺害された敏夫さんの母と姉が当時自宅があった現場を訪れ献花を行いました。その後、遺族らは現場近くの駅でビラ配りを行い情報提供を呼びかけました。警察はこれまでに延べおよそ5万人を動員していて、引き続き情報提供を呼びかけています。
While Hiroto hasn't shown his face once, Toshio's older sister, Toshiyo and her mother, Nobuko Fuchimura, have returned every year together with multiple others, including police officers, to remember the victims. One of the attendees 10 years after the incident was Yuki's karate instructor, who mentioned, "The day will come when we can report that the case has been solved," also saying he started patrolling the area to prevent other such incidents from happening. Older sister Toshi and her mother Nobuko are two of the members of the Soda no Kai, or Sky's Meeting, an organization representing bereaved family members of victims of multiple murder cases in Japan. One of the goals of the organization has been to abolish the statute of limitations, which they successfully achieved for crimes punishable by death. Other activities of the Soda no Kai include establishing a reward system for those coming forward with important information and organizing awareness-raising activities. Other than attending the annual memorial ceremony, Toshi and Nobuko have helped police by distributing 2,600 leaflets to raise awareness about the case.
現場近くの名鉄前後駅では、遺族らが今日利用客に情報提供を呼びかけました。
そんなひどいことをした犯人が今も生きて誰か幸せに暮らしている人の隣にいるかと思うとどうしても許せないし、情報提供をどうかよろしくお願いします。
情報提供は0561-39-0110で受け付けています。
Toshi frequently offers toys and drinks for her past family members, saying, "I would first offer juice for Yuki, but started offering beer on Yuki's birthday due to him being an adult by now." Toshi, 4 years her younger sister senior, describes the good bond she had with her sister and reminisces over the time their children would play together. She still clearly remembers the bright night sky she saw the night before the incident, thinking, tomorrow is Shogo's birthday. About 10 years after the incident, a time capsule of Shogo was found in the form of a box containing a letter. The letter was written by Shogo in 2002, at the time he was 6 years old. The letter asked the question, "What do you want to become?" And Shogo had answered, "Police officer, I guess," which prompted his grandmother to mention he would have been a fine police officer. Almost 20 years after the incident, no arrests have been made. As of 2023, 212 reports of information have been submitted to police, though a decrease in new reports has been seen every year. While police, family, and friends still search for answers, chances of solving the case are getting smaller. In order to remind the public of the case, an analysis of the incident was broadcast on a Japanese TV show on March 31st, 2020, though recently no groundbreaking new evidence has surfaced. Whether or not Hiroto had anything to do with the murder of his family remains a mystery to this day, though it's safe to say that from the early morning of September 9th, 2004, his life would never be the same. May the bereaved family members and friends of the victims find the answers they're looking for, and may Toshiyo, Yuki, Rina, and Shogo rest in peace. If anyone watching has any new information about the case, please contact the authorities through the following channels.